Bhagavan Uvacha Urvamulam Madakshakam Asratam Prahuravyayam Chandam Siyasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavit Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdvamulam Adakshakam Ashvatam Prahuravyayam Chandam Siyasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavit. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. Continuation of the purport. Now there is no ready experience in this world of a tree situated with its branches down and its roots upward, but there is such a thing. That tree can be found beside a reservoir of water. We can see that the trees on the bank reflect upon the water with their branches down and roots up. In other words, the tree of this material world is only a reflection of the real tree of the spiritual world. This reflection of the spiritual world is situated on desire, just as a tree's reflection is situated on water. Desire is the cause of things being situated in this reflected material light. One who wants to get out of this material existence must know this tree thoroughly through analytical study. Then he can cut off his relationship with it. Urdvamulam adakshakam ashvatam prahuravyayam chandam siyasya parnani yastam veda savedavid. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. So, there is nowhere that we can readily see a tree that is upside down with its roots upwards and its branches downwards. Such things do not generally exist within this world. However, there is an example of this kind of thing if we consider the tree which is situated on the bank of the river. Now, if you just think about the bank of a river, let's say the bank is situated here and the water is situated here, and if one has a tree which is situated right on the bank of the river, then the tree has its branches upwards and its roots downwards, but the reflection has its branches downwards and its roots upwards. So we can understand that this reflected tree is what is being referred to in this verse of Bhagavad Gita. And where is that reflected tree situated? It is situated here in the material world. And where is the real tree situated? The real tree is situated in the spiritual world. The real tree is like the tree that is on the bank of the river. That tree is compared to the spiritual world tree. And that tree which is reflected in the water is compared to the material world. And the example is very good from another point of view as well, because the tree that is reflected in the water is two-dimensional. It only has length and width. There's no height. So the tree that is reflected has length and width, two dimensions. And the real tree has length and width and height. It is three-dimensional. So in a similar way, this banyan tree of the material world, which is being referred to here, is three-dimensional. But the real tree in the spiritual world is 4 or more dimensions. In this way, the example is very appropriate. It is very appropriate that we take the example of a reflected tree. Maybe somebody can move this table back because it's blocking all these people over. Just move it back. That's good, that's good, that's good. And, yeah. So, this material world is not the same kind of reality as the spiritual world. The material world is a different creation. Now, it is somewhat like the spiritual world, just as the reflected tree is somewhat every now and then, like in the bathroom when we brush our teeth or when the men are shaving or whatever they're doing. So we look in the mirror. Now we're getting an idea of what the reality is like by looking in the mirror. But the reality is only two-dimensional, visible with the eyes. Therefore, it is not the same as the real reality, which you can also touch and smell and hear and taste. The mirror, you can only see. The reflection does not smell. The reflection does not taste like anything. The reflection does not make any sound. It is completely one-dimensional in that sensual sense. It is simply a sight, something to see. Now, in this material world, we have many experiences, but these experiences come one at a time. If you are trying to hear something and taste something at the same time, it will be very difficult for you to do that, if not impossible. I have made various experiences like that, where I have tried to taste and hear at the same time. Or read a book and eat at the same time. Or see something and hear something and smell something at the same time, it becomes impossible. You can generally only concentrate on one thing at a time. That's the general rule. You can concentrate on one thing at a time. To concentrate on more than one thing at a time is very, very difficult, if not impossible. But in the spiritual world, you can experience all of the sensual experiences simultaneously. And things are not limited. Just like sound. Sound is limited. Sound is limited. You can only, for example, hear it. Now, if I were to say to you, water, water, you would only be able to remember what is water. You won't be able to taste the water. You won't be able to take a bath in that water. The experience of the water is very limited. When I say water, you can only hear it, and that's all. Something, water, you've heard, you remember something, that's all. But in the spiritual world, the thing and that which it denotes, represents, is not different. That is the whole reason why when we chant Hare Krishna, it acts on all, purifying all the senses. Because the name Krishna and Krishna himself are not different. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukto Abhinatam Nama Namina. Very interesting verse. It says that all of the qualities of Krishna are present there in his name. The name is like Chintamani, full of qualities, like a touchstone, in that it can transform your existence. And the rasa, or taste, of Krishna is there in his holy name. In full, Purna Vigraha, full form is there. And the amazing thing about this name is that the name and the possessor of the name are not different. The name, Krishna, and the possessor of the name are not different. Therefore, when you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you are actually chanting the names of Krishna, and you can experience directly Krishna through that chanting. Krishna is factually dancing on your tongue when you chant his holy name. Now you may say, I have not realized that. Fair enough. You have not realized that. That's true. But if you keep on chanting, you will realize that, sooner or later. And then when you do realize that, you will dance in ecstasy for days on end. When you are so fortunate as to have experience of the Supreme Personality of God. So, the Supreme Lord is available to all of us. All you have to do is chant his holy name. But that requires a little bit of devotion. Just like when you do things in this world, generally it is motivated by lusty desires. One has a lusty desire in order to enjoy a particular ingredient in this material world. So that singular desire motivates everything that one does. In the spiritual world, that lust is transformed into love for Krishna, because originally we love Krishna. And when we come to the material world, that love is transformed into lust. And everything we are trying to do in the material world is an attempt to recapture that original loving relationship we had with the Supreme Lord. We're just trying to recapture the original loving relationship we had with Krishna. But we have forgotten this, and we have no longer any experience of this. So we are trying to recapture that. But every time we try to recapture that, we get burned by the experience that lust brings. You can just imagine how one always gets burned by lusty desires, which make him attached to something in the material world, and then cause him to fall down in the material existence. So this is the nature of the material world. It is not a very nice place. That is because it is two-dimensional as compared to the spiritual world. You know, if you were to live on a two-dimensional plane, it's just a flat plane. And if I were to walk on that plane, you would see just a footprint, flat footprint on that plane. And you wouldn't even be able to understand anything about the existence of the person who's living above the footprint. You wouldn't know anything about it. All you would know is this outline there on the plane. And even that would be very hard to perceive. So, when we are trying to realize the spiritual world, it is very difficult because of this dimension problem. Because we have a dimensional problem here. We are not able to understand the spiritual world because it is another dimension completely. Another existence completely. It is completely different than what we are used to. Therefore, even sometimes somebody gets some experience of the spiritual world, he has a very hard time comprehending it in full. Therefore, unless one has become very, very qualified, Krishna does not reveal the spiritual nature to him because he won't appreciate it. Just like, I can give you an example which you haven't read yet in the book, but maybe you've heard about. Once, Lord Chaitanya was standing with his associates on the beach by Jagannath Puri, and all of a sudden, the Lord ran away at the speed of the mind. He was struck with ecstatic love, and he ran away at the speed of the mind. And because he ran away at the speed of the mind, nobody could see where he went. He just disappeared. And all of the devotees were very, very disturbed. They could not understand what happened to Lord Chaitanya. And they began to run everywhere, up and down the beach, trying to find Lord Chaitanya. They speculated, maybe he went to this temple, maybe he went to that temple, maybe he left the planet. They were very disturbed. They did not know what happened. So for hours, and this was at night, they were wandering everywhere, trying to find what happened to Lord Chaitanya. So one group, they were divided up into groups, and they went to different places. So one group, which was headed by Swarup Damodar Goswami, who was the secretary of Lord Chaitanya, went towards the Konarka temple, which is about 10 kilometers north where they had originally been standing. It's a temple of the sun god. So, on their way there, this was at night, a fisherman was running down the beach. And he was shaking uncontrollably and chanting Hare Krishna uncontrollably. He couldn't understand what he was doing. So Swarup Damodar Goswami, being very intelligent, could understand that something significant had happened here. So he asked the fisherman, he said, "What is the problem? Why are you shaking so and running in fear like this?" And the fisherman said, "There is a ghost who has assumed the form of a huge dead body, whose arms are extended, and who makes a sound like gong, gong. And when you touch this ghost, it enters into your body and makes you insane. And all you can do is chant Hare Krishna. So I warn you, do not go there and touch that ghost. I'm going now to find an exorcist who can take the ghost out of my body." So Swarup Damodar Goswami said, "Oh, you are in luck. I am a very famous exorcist. I can relieve you of this ghost." So he chanted Hare Krishna very loudly and slapped the man in the face like this, and then said, "Now you are freed from the ghost." So the man, hearing this, became a little relieved. And Swarup Damodar Goswami said, "That was not a ghost you have seen. That was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And please tell us where he is so we can save him. He has disappeared from us." And the man said, "This was not Mahaprabhu. I have seen him many times in Jagannath Temple. This body was very long and elongated, and there was no way the joints were connected." And Swarup Damodar Goswami explained that this is the way Lord Chaitanya becomes when he gets filled with ecstasy. So please show us where the body is. So we can understand from this that this man, he had experienced transcendental love of Godhead when he touched the body of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was in the state of transcendental love of Godhead. But because he was not awakened to his real understanding, he was not experienced of this, he thought this was a disturbance in his material existence. He could not understand that this was love of Godhead. He thought it was a ghost. So one who is not experienced with the spiritual reality will misunderstand transcendental love of Godhead to be some strange kind of experience. They do not understand when they see devotees chanting and dancing in ecstasy. They do not understand what this means. It means that the devotees are very happy in transcendental love of Godhead. But the people do not understand what is transcendental love of Godhead. Therefore, they mistake it to be some kind of material thing, because they do not have experience of the higher nature. You have to get experience of the higher nature, but as we stated the other day, unless you have freedom from the lower nature, you'll never be able to experience the higher nature. Therefore, you have to give up the lower nature in order to attain the higher nature. And that is what Krishna consciousness is all about. It helps us to give up the lower nature in order that we can understand the higher nature. Just like with prasadam. Because we eat prasadam, we can easily give up the lower tastes of meat, fish, and eggs. We do not find onions and garlic palatable. We do not have anything to do with cigarettes or any intoxication. We find it obnoxious because we have a higher taste. The higher taste of prasadam and transcendental things. So unless you give up that lower taste, you can't appreciate the higher taste. It's like it is a known fact that meat eaters cannot stand the smell of ghee when it is cooking. They can't tolerate it at all. In the Hong Kong temple, I remember once there was a story about devotees were cooking ghee in the kitchen, making pakoras. And all the residents in the building they were in were complaining like anything about the horrible stench coming from the temple. These are the same people who cook insects and monkeys' brains and all kinds of horrible nonsense things, which are the most disgusting of all things. And yet, these people are complaining about pure, fresh ghee. So you can see, unless there is a higher taste, you cannot conquer over these lower tastes. So, devotees are learning the higher taste. In that way, they are learning the, the transcendental dimension. It's like the lower tastes are on the 2 dimensions. The higher tastes are on the 3 dimensions. Or in reality, the real example, the lower tastes are on 3 dimensions and the higher tastes are on 4 dimensions and higher. So we are learning that higher dimensionality by engaging ourselves in chanting Hare Krishna, by engaging ourselves in devotional service. We are learning the higher dimension, so that when it is time for us to enter into these higher dimensions, we can accept a transcendental body which is fully spiritualized, the Siddhadeha, the transcendental body, which is just created in the perfect form so that we can go on serving the Lord exactly according to the relationship we have with the Supreme Personality of God. So we have to come to that platform. And the way to do it is to realize that this material world is very limited. And if you want to enjoy here, you are limited. It's like Srila Prabhupada once explained in Bombay. It was such a relevant example that everybody appreciated it so much. He said, if you want to eat rasgulla, rasgullas are nice, no? So you want to eat as many rasgullas as you can eat, you want to eat because they taste good. But after 5, 6, maybe 9, I don't know, you start getting completely full, filled up to here with rasgullas. You don't want to look at rasgullas anymore. Too many rasgulas. You got them coming out of your ears, as we say. All the enjoyment of eating rasgulas is finished. Now, if you go to the spiritual world, you can eat unlimited rasgulas. As many rasgulas as you want to eat, you can eat. Just like Madhu Mangala. Madhu Mangala, he is born in a Brahmin family, and he's a friend of Krishna. And he's always begging for ladus. He is not after rasgula, he's after ladus. He likes ladus very much. So, he's always saying to Krishna, my dear friend, if you give me some ladus, I will give you some blessings. Because he's born in a Brahmin family. The business of the Brahmins is to give blessings to the Vaishyas. So Krishna was acting in the Vaishya family. So Madhu Mangala was saying, give me some ladus and I will give you some blessings. Because he wanted to eat ladus. And he could eat unlimited ladus. Because there's no limitation in the spiritual body. There's no limitation. You can eat as much as you like. You can do anything you like. But the difference is that the tree, as the material tree is reflected on the water, the spiritual reflection, which is the banyan tree of this material world, is reflected on desire. Those who go to the spiritual world are not desiring to eat rasgulas or ladus. They are desiring only to serve Krishna. Madhu Mangala serves Krishna by eating ladus. If that is your service, you may do. Otherwise, you should not go to Vaikuntha thinking, I will eat ladus. Then you will never get there. Desire is everything. If you desire to render service to Krishna and love Krishna, then you may enter into the spiritual realm. But if you desire anything of this material world, then you will remain in the material world. Because everything is situated on desire. Whatever you want, you will get. If you want material existence, you will get it. And if you want spiritual existence, which means that you are ready to renounce this material existence, then you will get it. There's no doubt. So one has to give up the lower taste in order to attain the higher taste, and then one will be satisfied in spiritual life and attain that multi-dimensional existence in the spiritual world, whereby one will be completely happy and satisfied, engaging in pure Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes? Just like what we were doing right now in this class. We were analytically studying what the material tree is like and what the spiritual tree is like, and showing the differences between the two, and showing the qualification that you have to accept in order to attain the spiritual world. That is analytical study. That is Vaishnava analytical study. The Sankhya philosophers, they also do analytical study. But they analyze only the material creation. And then by analytical study, they become detached from each and every aspect of the material creation. But the Vaishnava, he studies the Vaishnava, he studies Vishnu's creation. Therefore he's called Vaishnava. He studies Krishna's creation and becomes attached to Krishna in that way by serving him. And thus automatically he loses the taste of the material world, and by analytical study he can understand the material world is not what he wants. And thus he can attain the spiritual. Krishna values the effort we make. That's bhakti. And if the effort is done in love and devotion, the result will usually be done in the love and devotion as well. So Krishna values the result as well. It is not that we separate the result from the action. Both are important. However, if Krishna wants something done, then the result is also very satisfying to him. It's like Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra had to kill all those men. So Krishna appreciated that he did it and thanked Arjuna very much at the end. So we must also
преданность не проявляется таким образом. Преданность проявляется так, что мы прилагаем усилия, достигаем чего-то и жертвуем Кришне. Если вы прилагаете усилия, то результат тоже будет наполнен сердцем. Например, если вы идете на кухню, и вы делаете, изо всех сил работаете, но когда пуджари приходит с подносом и говорит, вы говорите, нет, ничего нет, но я очень серьезно работаю, поэтому Кришна будет позволить. Хорошо ли это будет? Нет. Результат тоже должен быть. Я не сказал, что все. Я сказал, что материальный мир отражение, но так как у него нет всего, это не полное отражение, нет всех этих измерений, то не то. Значит, это все, что мы видим тут. Если вы думаете, что вы так, то вы муха, в соответствии с Бхагавад-гитой, а Ваджананти вам не дал. Только мухи думают, что когда Кришна появляется, он всего лишь человек. Вы не можете понять Кришну до конца. Он кажется обычным человеком. Он кажется. Он похож на тебя и меня, только он голубой. Но он похож на обычного человека. А некоторые люди думали, что он обычный человек. Некоторые люди думали, что он всего лишь обычный человек. Но только потому, что они не понимали, им не хватало духовного знания тем, у кого было духовное знание, они могли видеть вечную трансцендентную форму Господа. И для них разницы между Кришной здесь и Кришной на голове не было. Он также в высших измерениях. Кришну нельзя определить, сколько у него измерений. Кришну можно определить только любовью. Арджуна всегда видел Верховную Личность Бога таким, как он есть. Боги также видели его в его истинной форме. Для них он был полон, ничего не было неизвестно. Некоторые преданные представляют отдельный свет развития Кришны, по крайней мере, в местных местах проявляет процесс, который составляет атаку. Возможно, что такой человек эффект. Во-первых, кто может судить? Во-вторых, если кто-то обладает сознанием Кришны, но при этом забывает о Кришне в момент смерти, то Кришна все равно помогает. Если у кого-то нет сознания Кришны, и он обретает сознание Кришны в момент смерти, то Кришна помогает ему. В любом случае Кришна помогает. Поэтому очень трудно сказать, у этого человека не было сознания Кришны в момент смерти. Мы видели, что Кришна по своей бестреченной милости очень часто приходил к преданным, который был на пороге смерти, и проявлял свою милость к нему. Таков Кришна, он очень добр. И если же преданный хотел оставаться в материальном мире в момент смерти, если у него оставались какие-то желания, которые он хотел исполнить, он хотел продолжать наслаждаться здесь, то тогда у него был выбор, он может попасть на райские планеты, наслаждаться там очень долго, и вернуться сюда и родиться где-нибудь у богатого человека, у аристократического человека, или по милости духовного учителя он может опять родиться в Исконе, в семье вайшнавов или ачарьев, и снова заниматься преданным служением. И то, и другое возможно. То, что вы сказали насчет Аваджананчи Мамуда. Говорится, относится ли это к духовному учителю? Говорится, что духовного учителя никогда нельзя считать обычным человеком, мы никогда не должны смотреть на него как на обычного человека, завидовать ему. Кришна не говорит об этом по Бхагавад-гите, но в других местах говорится, что мы никогда не должны принимать духовного учителя за обычного человека. Однажды Шрила Прабхупада сказал, что у нас есть где-то около 70% вероятности вернуться в Кришну. Шрила Прабхупада никогда не говорил, это еще очередная. Шрила Прабхупада никогда не говорил 70%. Вы должны предаться на 100% Кришне. Может быть и речь о 70%. Что повлияет на духовное чувство, если мы постоянно слушаем. Постоянное служение Верховному Господу значит, что мы служим Верховному Господу настолько, насколько мы можем. Все время, пока мы бодрствуем, столько, сколько мы можем. Мы служим Кришне. Это очень благоприятно для преданного служения. Постоянно служить Кришне. И в какой-то момент вы начинаете служить Кришне даже в уме. Даже во сне. Вы видите сны о том, как вы слышите Кришне. Это самое лучшее. Если вы постоянно меняете свое служение. Если вас просят сменить служение постоянно, это может быть связано с тем, что вы очень хорошо делаете и можете исполнять много, поэтому это самый оптимистический взгляд на постоянную смену служения. Гораздо более реалистичное представление — это то, что вы вообще ничего не можете. Вы все портите, все то, что вы за все, что вы беретесь. Поэтому вас постоянно переключают на что-то другое, пытаясь найти подходящее для вас служение, где бы вы не приносили так много беспокойства. Это не самое лучшее. Тут нужно делать что-то, чтобы поправить это. Обычно человек должен стать стабильным в своем служении. Шрила Прабхупада был очень доволен и очень всего хотел, чтобы преданные были стабильны в своем служении, и чтобы они приобретали опыт, занимались служением в течение долгого времени. Поэтому мы должны заниматься тем служением, которое нас попросили, насколько можно, и делать все лучше и лучше, когда вы постоянно будете заниматься им. Улучшайте, совершенствуйте и учите других, чтобы они также занимались тем же самым и также достигали самых лучших результатов. Это самое лучшее. Когда у нас будет все движение, состоящее из очень опытных людей, которые совершенным образом занимаются. Дорогой Шришна Патни, не принимайте больше учеников, но вы мой духовный учитель, я не могу изменить это. Я хочу есть Шикшигуру, Дикшигуру и Шикшигуру. Я не действую в качестве Дикшигуру для новых людей больше, но есть также Шикшигуру, наставляющий духовный учитель. Я могу давать вам наставления. Вы можете спросить меня наставление, это зависит от вас. Вопрос о преданных санскриптами, которые погибли в автомобильной катастрофе. Я ответил уже на этот вопрос. Душу можно разделить на несколько частей. Это то, что называется спекуляцией. Это хорошая причина, чтобы у меня всего лишь половинка души, я ищу другую половинку. Замечательный повод для того, чтобы подыскать себе подружку. Если преданные без инициации готовят, достаточно не готовы к Кришне, не принимают это отношение. Я уже ответил это. Если не инициированные преданные готовят в храме, Кришна не принимает. Если вы живете не в храме и вы не имеете инициации, вы можете предлагать это у себя дома. Это будет очищать вас. Но если вы живете в храме и вы поклоняетесь в соответствии с панчаратмикой деятельностью человека, который готовит, должен быть инициирован. И президенты храма должны сделать все необходимое, чтобы только ориентированы, преданно готовы. Длинный вопрос, матушка. Я думаю, что да. Могут они читать больше. Вторая инициация. Кто должен проявлять инициацию? Вторая инициация важна, как и все в духовной жизни. Но даже если у вас нет второй инициации, вы можете вернуться обратно к Богу, потому что самая главная инициация – это первая инициация. Когда вы получаете святое Господа. Гайатри, мантра, не важна. Однако она также важна для того, чтобы человек мог заниматься поклонением божеству. Если вы хотите поклоняться божествам, то вы должны иметь вторую инициацию. На самом деле, если вы хотите готовить, то вы должны иметь вторую инициацию. Настоящие правила. Если у вас нет второй инициации, то вы не можете готовить на огне и поклоняться божествам, как настоящие правила. Но так как иногда это очень трудно, в некоторых случаях мы делаем исключение, но это не хорошо. Настоящие правила для поклонения божествам и для приготовления пищи нужна вторая инициация, поэтому, чтобы служить божествам в соответствии с консерватором видением, нужна вторая инициация, для этого нужно ее получить. И обычно если вы занимаетесь преданным служением, следуете посадам, то когда приходит время в соответствии с условиями того или иного духовного учителя, то президент храма будет рекомендовать вас. Если он забывает это сделать, вы можете напомнить ему, в этом нет никакой пути. Есть 4 сампрадай. Мы, следуя читанию Махапрабху, должны принимать инициацию его сампрадая, Гудни Мадва, Вайшнава сампрадая. Нет никакого толка принимать инициацию других сампрадай. Это не то же самое. Объясните разницу между энтузиазмом. И решимостью. Это один из типичных вопросов, в чем отличается яблоко от апельсина. Апельсин, он оранжевый, яблоко разные. И вкус у них разный. Можно воспользоваться словарем. Посмотрите в словаре, что такое энтузиазм, потом посмотрите, что такое решимость, прочитайте, что там написано. Для этого я вам не нужен. Бхагавад-гите, Вишнамад Бхагаватам, Медичева Кришна говорит, сейчас мы должны понять разницу между энтузиазмом и решимостью. Нет, такого нет. Я могу сейчас быстренько готовить, сварить какой-нибудь ответ. Но я не знаю, будет это. Энтузиазм это очень хорошо. И решимость это тоже очень хорошо. А оба этих качества необходимы для того, чтобы человек прогрессировал в преданном служении. Все они необходимы для этого. Об этом говорится в третьем стихе. Упадешамрите Утаха Ничая Гаря. У человека должна быть решимость и энтузиазм. И то, и другое необходимо. Энтузиазм – это значит большое желание повторять Харе Кришну, заниматься служением, заниматься духовной практикой. А решимость – это значит, что вы будете делать это, и полной решимости делать это, что бы ни случилось, как бы то ни было. Что бы вы ни чувствовали, что бы вы ни ощущали, что бы ни произошло в этом мире, вы исполнены решимостью служить каждый день, весь день. Когда вы делаете это, вы должны проявлять энтузиазм, потому что это самое лучшее. Какая разница, в чем сейчас? Насколько важно приезжать в леса позже духовного учителя и как он настроение должно быть. Приезжать в леса позже духовного учителя, безусловно, очень хорошо. Это дает вам возможность общаться с духовным учителем и прославить его непосредственно. Это очень хорошо. И если вы не едете туда и находитесь в своем храме и прославляете духовного учителя, то это тоже хорошо. Может быть лучше, если вы отправитесь туда, где он находится. Я был на многих местах свою пару. Я могу честно сказать, что когда он был, это было очень хорошо, и когда его не было, это тоже было очень хорошо. В каком настроении нужно идти в настроении смиренного слуги. Я хочу отдать свою жизнь духовному учителю. Я хочу отдать ему свое сердце и душу. Все свои слова, разум, богатство, все то, чем я владею, все, что у меня есть, нужно использовать в служении. Это не значит, что вы отдаете ему все, что у вас есть. Иногда люди дают мне все то, что у них есть. Я говорю, пожалуйста, заберите это нужно вам для служения Кришне. Это не значит этого, это значит, что все, что у вас есть, вы используете в служении духовному учителю, и он будет использовать это, как он может. Это будет хорошо для вас. Понимаете разницу? Мой ребенок хотел принять одного духовного учителя, другой духовный учитель дал ему кусок карты. Это милость, это ужас, это полное безобразие. Духовный учитель выбирает не потому, что он дает вам кусок торта. Неужели это не очевидно? Не будет ли это самой глупой вещи на свете? Это значит, какой-то негодяй может пойти дать вам кусок торта, он становится вашим духовным учителем, так что ли? Или кто-то улыбнется вам, он становится вашим духовным учителем. Духовным учителем так не становится. Более того, дети не должны принимать духовного учителя таким образом. Они должны подождать, пока они подрастут. И когда они будут слышать духовного учителя, они даже не приходят на лекции. Единственное, что знают, на каком они уровне, он их гладит по голове и дает им кусок торта. То нельзя разрешать принимать духовного учителя при таких обстоятельствах. Только когда они слушают философию, когда они понимают философию, и когда философия проникать в их сердце, меняет их жизнь, что они начинают повторять, начинают слушать, начинают служить. Только тогда они должны принимать духовного учителя, а не просто так, по какой-то глупости. Потому что он дал кусок карта, ой-ой-ой, что за сампрадая отсюда получится, если мы будем принимать инициацию таким образом. Торговый сампрадая. Как защитить своего ребенка от других преданных, от такого давления? Вы должны сказать своему ребенку, вы не должны принимать духовного учителя до тех пор, пока вы недостаточно взрослые, чтобы понимать, что они говорят, и не понимать философского смысла. Правильно ли это, что дети, которые должны повторять 16 кругов, уже принимают духовного учителя? Это зависит от того, насколько они в каком возрасте, если они уже начнут повторять, когда они примут информацию, или когда они принимают информацию. Преданные, живущие в храмах, иногда страдают от нерегулированности жизни, когда как греха живут более регламентированной жизнью. Живущие в храмах пользуются какими-то диетами, какими-то. Самое лучшее, чтобы храм устраивал такую диету, которая была здоровой для всех, такую пищу. Это самое важное. Вы должны найти хорошую диету и обеспечить их всех. Наша диета на самом деле очень хорошая диета, если мы следуем. Как, например, пища – это замечательная вещь. Ее легко переваривать, она дает много энергии. Это пища йога. В Индии ее называют пища йога. Однажды я сказала ведическому врачу, а ведическому врачу сказал, что я ем пищу каждый день. Он сказал, ты йог. Если этого достаточно для того, чтобы стать йогом, то тогда действительно настоящий йог. Вот так рис, дал, чапати, овощи. Это очень сбалансированная диета. Фрукты, молоко. Есть ли у вас? Лепус. Если вы сидите в камере, то это видно, какой хлеб будет. Вы выходите на харинаму здесь, как вы ходите на харинаму. Когда вы построите храм, каждый день вы должны, преданные, которые не имеют занятия, они должны выходить и петь. Это очень хорошее упражнение. Целый день они должны петь, когда вы будете переваривать все, что угодно. Даже хлеб. Чапати гораздо лучше. Если вы можете справиться уже одном чапати. машины для раскатки. Всегда есть. Перед этим просто зачем нужно просто сделать влиять. Когда они отвлекают вместе и отвлекают какой-то концепт. Поэтому нужно принять какой-то окончательный решение, что они должны понимать. И когда взгляд отличается, что-то отличает, там мало-мало, другое отличает, там и там Чандра, другое мало. Если что-то большое, то вместе не похоже, что кто-то делает. Там есть объявление, кто по каким вопросам к вам обращаться. Делать не надо. И потом. Это трудно. Настоящий не важно. Привязаться к саду, в какой смысл, если не привязаны. Если привязаны, это значит, что мы должны хотеть общаться с этим садом, служить ему, слушать его. В этом заключается привязанность. Что значит отдать себя? Что значит чувствовать себя ничтожным? Опять нужно взять словарь, посмотреть, что значит ничтожным, выяснить, что это очень маленький. Это значит, быть очень маленький. Значит, если вы знаете, что там вокруг нас большая вселенная, и в этой огромной вселенной есть крошечная планета, похожая на пылинку. Она называется Землей. И на этой маленькой Земле есть крошечное место. Называется Санкт-Петербург. Она похожа маленькой пылинкой. И на этой пылинке в Санкт-Петербурге есть храм. И в этом храме есть не совсем крошечное живое существо. И если вы понимаете это, вы поймете, куда пустить полностью. Как можно избавиться от воспоминаний? Вопрос как не может. Хороший вопрос. Вперед сказали о разных животных. И отвечает раз. Значит, что они одинаковые разных условиях. В духовном мире у всех есть одинаковые количество разума, однако даже там разум проявляется по-разному. Кто-то находится в шахрасе, его разум проявляется по-другому, чем у того, кто находится в Ватсале расе, в Мадуре расе или в Саке расе. Все это различные проявления разума. Однако количество разума одинаково. Оно зависит от наших отношений и от разных обстоятельств. Спасибо. До новых встреч. Надеюсь, мне встретимся. Садитесь в Петербург. Будьте счастливы. Каждый день. Петербург. Харикеса. Дорогие преданные, те, кто имеет эти клиенты, которые получали перед входом алтарной просьбы всех сдать их, желательно сегодня сразу после лекции, иначе, если вы вовремя не дадите, тот залог, который вы оставили, не сможете получить назад. Просьба всех сдать эти приемы в Харе Кришна.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Giri Varadari Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Giri Varadari Tashodananda Bhajadana Ranjana Tashodananda Bhajadana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Giri Varadari Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Giri Varadari Tashodananda Bhajadana Ranjana Yashodananda Braja Janaranjana Yashodananda Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Banachari Yamunatira Banachari Jayo Radho Madhavo Kunda Bihari Jayo Radho Madhavo Kunda Bihari Jayo Radho Madhavo Kunda Bihari Jayam Vishnu Pada Paman Sabri Rajakachaya Statarasata C.C. Machidan Goswami's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shararopada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai Namacharya Shalaras Thakur Ki Jai Iskan Vibhiti Founder Charya's Divine Grace Shararopada Ki Jai Prames to Gosi Krishna Chaitanya Bhunichananda Siddheti Radha Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Nagpuri Dham Ki Jai Jagannatha Swami Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Samveda Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai All glory Samal devotees, all glory Samal devotees, all glory Samal devotees, all glories, Shishi Guru Grung, all glories, Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Is that you up there? So this is a continuation of Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 15, text number 1, which we started in St. Petersburg but never seemed to get through. So we'll finish the verse today. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdhva Moolam Atha Shakam Ashvatham Prahur Avyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yas Tam Veda Sa Vedavit Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdhva Moolam Adakshakam Urdhva Moolam Adakshakam Ashvatham Prahuravyayam Ashvatham Prahuravyayam Chandam Siyasya Parnani Chandam Siyasya Parnani Yastam Vedasa Vedavit Yastam Vedasa Vedavit Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdvamulam Adakshakam Ashwatam Prahuravyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavit. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas." So purport continued. This tree, being the reflection of the real tree, is an exact replica. Everything is there in the spiritual world. No good? No? Who's running this up there? Who's in charge? Who's in charge?
по крайней мере, мой приемник сейчас стал принимать. Вот, до сих пор не принимал, сейчас принимает. Ровно на 96 слышно Харикеса повторение. Вот, поднимите руки, у кого слышно.
Vaidyanas.
It seems so, but maybe they can somehow return it away from you so that you don't hear it. Нельзя так делать, чтобы сухо никак не слышал, чтобы это отвертка просто не было. Я буду очень мешать. Или, по крайней мере, делать очень низко. Тише делайте, потому что это мешает легче. Нет, его громко, чтобы он меня не слышит. Меня не слышит. Вот так. Is it okay now? Is it better?
But how they can understand what you're saying, some problems with the if you put it very low, or not low.
Когда не нужно, когда его тише сделать. Сейчас меня слышат, да? Yeah, they can hear me now. And keep putting low. Let's try.
Уважаемые зрители, во время лекции сфотографируйте, пожалуйста, убедительное фото. Кто будет сфотографировать, будет изъято фотоаппарат. И делайте, пожалуйста.
Я помню, как Иисус сказал, говорит, что существует вечное дерево бамья, корни которого растут вверх, а ветки вниз, а листья его мистические гибли. Знаешь, это дерево постиг веры. Продолжаем комментарий. Это дерево, будучи отражением корня веры, является внутренней любовью. В духовном мире есть все. Имперсонализм понимает правду. Находим бессмертную. А используем, согласно философии санату, происходит управление, помощь, затем трибуна, 5 других элементов, пальцы Махапрабху, затем совершенно рух и так далее.
Таким образом, они делят себя примерно 24
Brahman is the center of all
Если Брахман — это центр всех проявлений, то окружность вокруг него можно разделить на две половины. Первый — материальный, а другая — духовный. Материальный — это искаженное отражение. Поэтому духовный должен обладать тем же преобразием, но он реально существует.
About the tree which is a description of the material world. It is just like a banyan tree. And it may be understood in terms of a reflection of a real tree on the bank of a river, where the real tree has its branches upwards and its root downwards, and the reflection of the tree has its roots upwards and its branches downwards, just opposite. That is because it is reflected in this way. So you will see the top of this tree being the lowest part of the reflection, and the root of the tree is the upper part of the reflection. So in this material world, it is understood to be a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. But it is not in the same quality or quantity of the spiritual world. The material world is of a different quality and quantity than the spiritual world. A perfect example of this is the highest thing in the spiritual world is the lawless love of the gopis for Lord Krishna. This is called Parakiya Bhava, or the love of one's paramour. In the material world, this kind of love of other person's wives for a paramour is considered most abominable. Or at least it used to be that way. Nowadays, of course, people don't really care about anything anymore as far as morals or ethics goes. But it used to be that if you were running away with another man's wife in the middle of the night, the husband could go out and shoot you, and no court of law would convict you of murder. Used to be like that. Nowadays, of course, you cannot get away with such things. But the point is that the highest love in the spiritual world is reflected in the material world as the lowest activity. Or put in another way, the love in the spiritual world is compared to gold, and the love in the material world is compared to iron. Now both gold and iron are metals, but there is a world of difference between the gold and the iron. The gold we consider is very valuable. The iron we consider to practically be like junk. The junkyards are filled with tons and tons of iron. You don't find even 1 gram of gold in the junkyards. Not even 1 gram of gold will be laying anywhere. But tons of iron will be laying here, there, and everywhere. So we can just understand from this example the difference between the quality of the material world and the quality of the spiritual world. The spiritual world is pure, unalloyed, transcendental, loving emotion for the Supreme Lord. And the material world is filled with unlimited lust. In the material world, everybody is very much interested in their own body and senses. They are only interested in the material existence. They have no interest in the higher realms of consciousness. They have no interest in the higher realms of the manifestation of actual spiritual consciousness. They are not interested in this. That is because everybody in the material world is bound by the principle of Janasya Mohoyam Aham Mamayati. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Everybody is bewildered by the concept that everything in this material world belongs to me. Now, I know that all of you have heard this before. This is nothing new. But the interesting thing is that even though we may have heard it many times, that nothing belongs to us. Nirmama, nirahankara. To be without possessiveness, to be without false identity. This is the proper situation of a devotee. But we forget this. We forget that the proper situation of a devotee is to be without possessiveness. We think that these things which we have in the material world actually belong to us. And when these things are taken away from us by the force of the laws of nature or our karma, we become very disturbed. We become very upset. We cannot sleep at night because we are thinking about our lost items. Is this okay? No. Yes. You don't hear me very well? What's happened? How does this sound out there? You hear me, and everybody else doesn't hear me. It's really tough giving a class like this, I tell you. First, we had to sit in all these traffic jams eating exhaust fumes for 45 minutes. And then we have to give a class while we're hearing two languages at once. I guess Krishna just wants to show me that I'm not the controller. Ah, yes. So, now, Prabhupada makes the point that the impersonalist class of men, they take the root of this tree to be Brahman. They accept that at the very root of this tree, this original seed, is Brahman. They do not accept that beyond this material tree is a spiritual tree of which this material tree is a reflection. Therefore, they are incomplete in knowledge. They do not understand completely transcendental knowledge. They have a misconception. And therefore, due to their poor fund of knowledge, they are actually unable to attain the highest destination in the spiritual realm. But they consider that Brahman is the source. And from Brahman has come all of this energy. Now, we find that Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita this, what is stated here in the purport. The Prakriti is the external energy of the Supreme Lord, and the Purusha is the Supreme Lord Himself, and that is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Since this manifestation is material, it is temporary. So the impersonalists, they may even understand, just like in Bhagavad Gita it says Prakriti and Purusha. These two energies are there. Purusha is the source of the energy, and Prakriti is the energy manifested in this material world. Now, Purusha refers to a person. But the impersonalists consider Purusha, the Param Purusha, to be Brahman. But this runs us into many problems, which we have discussed many times. The first problem is, if Brahman is the source of the entire existence, and there is no variety in Brahman, then how is it possible that all this variety of the material world has come? How is it possible? If Brahman has no variety, then how from no variety, variety can come? Just like if I had an empty room which is filled with light, and I asked you to create one statue from this empty room, I were to tell you to go into the empty room and somehow take these materials that aren't there and create a statue. Or create anything. You would not be able to do that. Because when there is no material in the room, you cannot create anything out of it because there's nothing there. So similarly in Brahman, there is no materials. It is just all oneness. There are no materials, and there are no illusions, there are no desires. So how and why does Brahman create all the variegatedness of this material world? And how is it that everywhere we look, we see variety, we see individual living entities with their individual consciousness and their individual desires, and this has all come from desirelessness in Brahman, from lack of all ingredients in Brahman, lack of all will. There's nothing in Brahman except the oneness, the eternity feature. So how all this manifestation of variety can come? Now, one may say that it is there in potential, that everything exists within Brahman in potential, but it is not manifested. All right, even accepting that argument, which is not the Shastric argument, but even accepting that argument, let us say by asking one question.
Но на это можно ответить.
Even if everything is there already in Brahman,
Даже если все уже находится в Брамане,
why does Brahman create all this material world?
почему его ради Браман сотворил этот материальный мир?
Can anyone answer why Brahman creates?
На этот вопрос, почему он сотворил?
Now you may say, I will help you.
Я могу
You may say, it is Brahman's lila.
Вы можете сказать, это либо Брамана,
But lila refers to
однако либо
enjoyment.
относится к наслаждению.
So how much enjoyment is it here in the material world when we sit in traffic jams for hours and breathe exhaust fumes?
Сидим в пробке и вдыхаем
Or
классные газы.
we have to go to the dentist and get our teeth drilled?
Вынуждены отправиться к зубному врачу.
Or we have to have a fight with our wife?
Или мы должны ругаться с своей женой.
How much enjoyment is that?
Много этих наслаждений доставляет вам.
In fact, if we examine the material world,
Фактически,
we will find, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punarvitano Arjuna, from the highest planet down to the lowest planet, all are places of suffering, dukkhalayam, ashashvatam, temporary places of suffering. So, Brahman is supposed to be all-powerful. Then why does it create pastimes which are all miserable? Doesn't make sense. Why is there pain? Why is there suffering? Why is there agony? Why is there torture? Why is there death? Why is there the pain of birth? Why is there old age? Why is there disease in the all-perfect Brahman? The Mayavadis have only one answer. It's all illusion. It doesn't exist. Okay, fine. At that point, we take our shoes and we bash them on the face of the Mayavadi until his nose is bleeding, and we tell him, don't mind, but it's all an illusion. Now, because the Mayavadi has no understanding of this illusion, he will run away and not want to be hit by our shoes. But that is because he does not even believe his own philosophy. If it was all illusion, then happiness or distress wouldn't make any difference. But the Mayavadi also doesn't like to be in distress. The Mayavadi doesn't like pain. When he feels pain like everyone else, he cries like everyone else. So, what is the use of all this Mayavadi philosophy? The real solution is to understand that this world is a perverted reflection of this supreme abode of the Lord. And this makes perfect sense. Because then we can explain where all these individuals have come from, where all the desires have come from, where all the materials have come from. And we can also explain why this world has come into being. We cannot explain why Brahman creates, because Brahman has no desire. But we can explain why Krishna creates, because all of his living entities, his parts and parcels, have desires to enjoy in this material world. Therefore Krishna creates. So we can understand there is a difference between the Mayavadi conception and the Vaishnava conception, as Krishna presents it in the Bhagavad Gita. And to anyone who has any brain, Krishna's conception makes much more sense and is much more satisfying than the Mayavadi conception. So Krishna says the spiritual world is there in higher dimensionality, and the reflection of the spiritual world is the material world in less dimensions. Just like the water reflects the tree in 2 dimensions, although the tree is 3 dimensions. Similarly, the spiritual world is multidimensional, and the material world is only 3-dimensional. Maybe you can add a 4th dimension of time, but the spiritual world is much more expanded than that. Therefore, the spiritual world is the original source of the images of this material world, which are a perverted reflection. Just like we have already explained about the perverted reflection of love. And you can see all the qualities of the spiritual world are reflected here in a perverted way. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that when the living entity is in the spiritual sky, he is experiencing the rasas with Krishna. But when he comes to the material world, because he was so enlivened by those rasas, all he does is look again to recreate those same rasas. Therefore, he spends his whole time trying to recreate the same experiences that were there in the spiritual world. Therefore, mothers love their children, husbands and wives love each other, friends love friends, servants serve masters, and so on. Because this is all a reflection of the original relationships which we had in the spiritual sky and which we are eager to recreate. But unfortunately, you cannot recreate these experiences in the material world in full. It will always be perverted. Therefore, although you may have even the best husband and the best wife in the whole universe, but still that relationship between husband and wife will not last. It will be finished as soon as death comes. You may think it's very nice, this relationship, but death will come. Nowadays, most of relationships between husband and wife are filled with troubles, quarrels, friction, and so on. That's natural in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the age of quarrel, where everybody is upadrita, disturbed. So, naturally, there will be problems in household life. That is the general rule. But don't forget, even if you've got the most perfect household life, it will be finished by death. And then there is nothing you can do about it anymore. Therefore, there is no perfect reflection of the spiritual world in the material world. You can see this also in the other rasas. Just like in servitorship. In the spiritual world, the servants love to serve the master Vishnu, And Vishnu loves to satisfy his servants. There is a reciprocating relationship there. But in the material world, the servant does not serve his master out of love. He only serves the master because he is getting paid. And if he were to stop getting paid, he would stop his service. So therefore, we are not serving out of love in the material world. And therefore, the masters cannot satisfy us in the same way. However, when one is more and more spiritualized in his understanding and in his activities, then you can get closer to the state of satisfaction in the relationship between servant and master. Just like when there is a wonderful king, like King Prithu, or Maharaj Yudhisthira, or Prahlad Maharaj, or Bali Maharaj, or any of these great kings, then the people who serve under them, they are as satisfied as one can be in this material world. Because all of the necessities of life are given profusely by the good management of these kings. There is not even too much heat or too much cold. It rains usually at night when everyone's sleeping, and there is sufficient rain. And there is not even disturbances from disease or natural calamities. So when the king, for instance, is very highly purified, or is a representative of the Lord, then it is possible that that the living entities come very close to the point of understanding that servitorship that they may understand in Vaikuntha. It is possible to recreate Vaikuntha here on the earth planet. But to do that, one must give up completely all material attachments, all material entanglements, all material lust, desire, greed, and so on, and anger. All this must be given up. And when one can give up like that, then one can actually come to the platform of attempting to love Krishna by devotional service. Let us go back to reading the purport. Since this manifestation is material, it is temporary. A reflection is temporary, for it is sometimes seen and sometimes not seen. That's a very interesting point. Reflections are sometimes not seen and sometimes are seen. It depends. For example, if the mirror is in the right place, or the light source is on. If there's no light, or the mirror is not reflecting in the right angle, you won't see the reflection. Or if the mirror is covered by dust, you also won't see the reflection. Similarly, in the material world, sometimes the living entities are absorbed within the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu or Karnadakshaya Vishnu, Mahavishnu. So when this happens, the reflected qualities of the material world do not manifest. And we are saying there is no reflection. But when they are again manifested, then again there is reflection, and it is possible to see. Back to the purport. But the origin from whence the reflection is reflected is eternal. The origin of the material world is always there. If the mirror is there or not there, it does not matter. If the material light is on or not, the spiritual light is always manifesting. That is because the spiritual world is Sat Chit Ananda. It is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. It is always existing. It is just this material world which is sometimes existing and sometimes not existing. Back to the purport. The material reflection of the real tree has to be cut off. When it is said that a person knows the Vedas, it is assumed that he knows how to cut off attachment to this material world. If one knows that process, he actually knows the Vedas. One who is attracted by the ritualistic formulas of the Vedas is attracted by the beautiful green leaves of the tree. He does not exactly know the purpose of the Vedas. The purpose of the Vedas, as disclosed by the personality of Godhead himself, is to cut down this reflected tree and attain the real tree of the spiritual world. So this reflection has to be cut off. One has to detach himself from this reflected so-called reality and attach himself to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is in the transcendental realm of transcendental reality. This is what we want to do. We want to attain Krishna. And when we attain Krishna, our lives will be complete, perfect, and full of bliss. There is no use remaining in this material world. There is no use. It doesn't matter. I don't care how much you argue that you're going to be happy in this material world. It's not going to happen. You can try and try and try, but sooner or later you will find disturbances which are causing you all kinds of anxieties. Therefore, one has to come to the point of serving Krishna with 100% of one's thought, his words, and his deeds, his life, energy, and his wealth. Use everything in the service of the Lord. Or as Bhaktivinoda Thakur puts it, Manasa Deha Geho Yo Kichamor Apula Tuapada Yananda Kishore. My Lord, everything I have, my mind, my body, my home and family, they are all meant for your satisfaction. Otherwise, there is no satisfaction in this material world. I only want to serve you. I only want to surrender to you. I only want to love you. Then I can actually be happy. Otherwise, there is no question of being happy in this miserable material existence. So give up attachment to this temporary world. Gain attachment to the eternal spiritual world and be happy. Hare Krishna. Was that okay? I mean, you could understand what was said and all that? I hope we don't have to do this again. Whoever's in charge of all this, please, please fix fix these machines. Do we have a Mr. Questions today? I think he's at the court case. Who else is here that's any good? You? Okay, come on. He needs the microphone too, no? Microphones for Vaidyanatha. You hear that one too, right?
Yes.
He translates. It's funny, the question's written in Russian, it's translated into English, then it's translated into Russian, then I answer in English. It's wild, it's wild. No, it's quicker if you just ask it in English. You have two functions. You have to make sure it's a good question, and then you have to give me the question in English so I can understand it. That's very nice. That's very nice. No. First of all, there's a misconception about this term installed deities. If you have Gornatai are installed by kirtan. You don't need to pour butter and yogurt over the deity to install him, and mantras. You simply have big kirtan in front of the deity, and he will be installed. So if in your home you have the Gornatai and you have done kirtan and worship them, they are installed. So you'd better be careful what you do. You shouldn't think, oh, these deities are not installed, I can do whatever I like. That's not very good. We should respect them and worship them as if they were installed. You may have a simpler standard of worship, that's all right, but it should be proper in all respects. And if you are offering your prasadam, food that you are cooking, that you want to distribute to the people, to your deities at home, and you are doing it with love and devotion, and you are chanting the mantras according to the proper procedure for worshipping and offering the food, then Shishi Gornatai will accept it, and the food that you are distributing will be prasadam. If you are proper devotees, initiated devotees, and the people who receive it will get benefit. And if you want the people to get more benefit, then you cook it with more love and devotion, and then they will get more benefit. The more love and devotion you cook with, the more there will be benefit. It is the love and devotion which actually counts the most. Even if you live in the temple and you cook for the deities, but your mind is off on sense gratification and you have no love and devotion, then the prasadam, the food that is offered, does not have very great potency. The potency comes from the love and devotion of the offering. Therefore, all the cooks in all the temples, wherever they may be, have to cook with love and devotion. They have to want to satisfy the Supreme Lord with their offering. Then it will be very nice. Anyway, it's different. It's different, just like in the in when you're distributing books. When you distribute books, you may not have love and devotion. But if you just distribute the book, that's what counts. Because it doesn't matter what your consciousness factually is. In one sense, I'm going to qualify this in another sense in the next paragraph. But factually, whatever your consciousness is, if the person takes the book and he has good consciousness when he takes it, and he goes home and reads the book, because Prabhupada put his pure consciousness in these books, therefore they are effective. But it's different when you're making prasadam. Now, if Srila Prabhupada cooked the prasadam and offered it, and then you went out and distributed it, it would be just as potent, no matter what your consciousness is, because his potency is built into it. But when you are making the cake or whatever, it is very important that you have that right consciousness so that it will be potent. Now, obviously, book distributors should have good consciousness, otherwise nobody will take a book from them. But even if by chance, at one point, they don't have good consciousness, it doesn't matter even, just as long as they can give the book to the people and the people are not disturbed. Because factually the book preaches, and the book is the important thing. That does not mean you can be in Maya and purposefully stay in Maya and go out and distribute books. We want you to be a pure devotee. We want you to have good consciousness. We want you to be satisfying the people when you speak to them. We want this. But even if it's not there, the book is what counts. And I was contrasting that to the prasadam, where you have to prepare the prasadam with such love and devotion that whoever takes it, whether he knows what he's taking or not, whether he understands or not, he will get the benefit and his heart will change. What were you saying? Good qualities. That's right. Well, in practice, first of all, we should understand there is a verse which says, Yasasti Bhakti Bhagavati Kinchana Sarvai Gunai Tacha Samasa Tesara, that one who has engaged himself in pure devotional service without any other motivation, he will develop automatically all the good qualities of the demigods. So you've got to get yourself to the platform of performing pure devotional service. Then automatically all the good qualities will manifest. And if you're not on that platform, then you have to strive to get on that platform. And how can we? How can we? We all know how we can. So let us do it. We should, and while we are engaged in devotional service, while we are engaged in all of the activities of Krishna consciousness, then at the same time, we should strive to be kind to others, loving and helpful to others, see ourselves as servants of others, not seeing ourselves as masters. And if we are in a bad mood, we should not project that on others. If we are intolerant, we should not cause harm to others. You know, even in Christianity they understand this point. There is a golden rule. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. If you act, if you, people, they talk about this nowadays, how it's a contradiction. We give out hatred in our life. We give out bad words and harsh language. And we expect that people are going to speak back to us kindly and lovingly. We don't like others, but we expect others to love us. And when others don't love us, we get very disturbed and criticize them. This is nonsense. If you give out to others, you will get to others in the same way. When you cause pain to others, others will cause pain to you. This is karma. We know this law of karma. But it doesn't just mean you don't kill cows. It also means when you are causing pain to others mentally, then others will cause pain to you mentally. This you have to understand. Especially here in Russia, where everybody likes so much to fight and disagree and quarrel. Since the first day I came here, I've seen that. I couldn't believe it. I said, this is the most quarrelsome place I've ever been to. Everybody fighting all the time over the littlest things. We have to give this up. We have to conquer our passion and ignorance. Stop fighting all the time. Surrender to Krishna. Be friends with the other devotees. Yes. Is it okay? Yes. First of all, if you distribute books in the proper way, as Navina Nirada Das trained up everybody here in the book distribution seminar, then you will be actually acting as a Brahmana. Because you will be going, Lord Chaitanya asked Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur to go door to door and deliver Krishna consciousness. So when you distribute books, I know you go door to door because I get reports about this all the time. And you also meet people here and there. So you are like a Brahmana. You are exactly like a Brahmana. You are taking the absolute truth in these books. You are delivering it to the people. And you are explaining to them in a very nice way what these literatures are about. And you are answering their spiritual questions. And you are a Brahmana because you are teaching them and giving them Krishna. If you just go and sell books like a businessman, you know, I've got here these books today, and usually they cost $100, but I'll give it to you special, no profit for you, $10, or something like that. Then this is like a Vaishya. It all depends on what consciousness and how you distribute the books. I suppose even one day there'll be Kshatriyas distributing books. You know how they'll do it. All right, take this book. Yes, yes. But we also need Brahmanas who teach the devotees. We We need brahmanas who teach them how to cook. We need brahmanas to teach them in the deity worship. We need brahmanas to teach them how to manage. We need brahmanas to teach them how to have good qualities. We need brahmanas to teach them the philosophy. So we need all kinds of brahmanas. So become brahmanas, if you can. And if you can't, whatever you are, just do it perfectly for Krishna. Is that thunder? I thought somebody was playing the drum. When Prabhupada was speaking, it was in Vrindavan, and his secretary at that time was having troubles. And one of the qualities of that secretary was that he was always accepting service from his godbrothers. He would get his godbrothers to wash his clothes. He would get his godbrothers to cook for him and feed him. He would get his godbrothers to bring him places. He would get them to massage him when he wanted massage. So, Srila Prabhupada talked to me after that when he was having trouble, and he said specifically that he is having trouble because he is accepting service from his godbrothers without giving them something in return, in reciprocation. Then, the next day, he was in his room having massage. And his servant was massaging him, but he wasn't doing a very good job. And Anand Prabhu, who's the former servant and cook for Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, he is a very loving devotee. He wanted to render service to Srila Prabhupada. So he said to Prabhupada, "Let me massage you, and I will teach your disciple how to massage properly." Because he used to also massage Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So he wanted to show the servant how to massage. And Srila Prabhupada said, "No, you cannot massage me. You are my godbrother. You are worshipful for me. I will not accept this." And then Anand Prabhu was saying, just let me teach him. I'm not going to massage you. I'm going to teach your disciple." Prabhupada said, "No." He said, "You cannot serve me in this way. I cannot permit it." So he was showing exactly that we should be very careful when it's time for accepting service from our godbrothers or godsisters. But cooperation is there. Let's say you are on the Sankirtan party, and one of the Sankirtan devotees has been, one of them who is the helper of the Sankirtan devotees. His service is to drive the devotees, or to wash their clothes, or cook their prasadam. Because he's doing it for the Sankirtan party, which is going out and performing the mission, he is not actually just rendering service to godbrothers. He is actually a part of the Sankirtan mission. And therefore cooperation like that is acceptable. Similarly, the cooks in the temple are cooking for everybody. So everybody accepts their prasadam because they are rendering service to everybody's service. Everybody is serving and they are rendering service to the servants. And because it is for the general good of the whole temple, we accept it. What? No. When you are on the street distributing, then you are feeling the protection of Lord Chaitanya and your spiritual master. Because it is very much more obvious that you need protection. Similarly, when you sit here and you listen to the class, you're also getting protection in the same exact way. But here, there's nothing to harm you or cause you disturbance. Therefore, you feel like you don't have the same protection. But it's only because there's nothing harming you. Whereas on the street, there are so many things to harm you. You're always protected by Krishna and by the remembrance of the instructions of the spiritual master. So long as you're sincere, you'll be protected. Okay, last question. I'm sorry we have to quit, but we started late because of this problem with the microphone. I think it was Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati once said that when you approach a materialist, you should say, "My dear sir, you are very intelligent, you are very learned, you are very opulent, you have all good qualities. But give it all up and surrender to the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." So there is a possibility to flatter people to get them to become favorable. But there is also the possibility to tell them directly about Krishna consciousness, but in a way which they can accept it. People will just go through these stages of sometimes being very grossly ignorant. But if you know how to present the books, if you actually have knowledge how to do it, then you can distribute even here in that way. It's just a question of your skills. And until you get those skills, then you'll have to use the other method. Of course, you'll never develop your skills if you're only using the other method. Okay, see you tomorrow at the other hall. What is that hall? Do they all know? Haribol.